Since Election Day, Republicans have been trying to figure out what went wrong and what needs to be done to start regaining power. Joining us now, two rising stars in the GOP, Governor Tim Pawlenty of Minnesota and Michael Steele, former Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, who's now running to be chairman of the Republican National Committee. And gentlemen, welcome. I'm going to pick up on that with you in a minute, but let's bring in Mr. Steele. What would you add to what Governor Pawlenty just said?
I think he hit it right out of the box. I think the other thing that I found that's been lacking over the last 4 years, especially the last two cycles, 06 and 08, we don't know how to talk to people. We've absolutely forgotten how to communicate a message, to what the governor says, to espouse those very principles in the context of people's everyday lives. When you're talking about an economy that's slowing down, a war that they're concerned about, and not to mention health care issues, our party has to have a voice. It has to have a relevant voice that people can identify with. We need to be that competing interest, if you will, for them, so that they're not hearing just one side of the argument. But that's been the case, especially in this last election.
Are you saying, I mean, John McCain spent months and millions of dollars campaigning. Are you saying he didn't communicate?
No, I'm not saying he didn't communicate. I'm saying the party as a whole didn't communicate. I mean, a campaign for presidency is not the same as the day-to-day ground game that you see carried out in states all across this country leading up to and during a campaign for national office. So you've got to have that backfill. You've got to have that back channel of noise, if you will, of communication that furthers the agenda or the voice of the candidate for office. But beyond that, going into the election, what was the voice of the party? Where were we very clearly stating those very principles that the governor talked about? And I think that's one of the concerns, especially among the grassroots of the party. All right. Well, we lose independence and others because there's no connection.
Let's put some on this desk. Mr. Steele, at the Republican convention, you came up with the phrase "drill, baby, drill," which became a slogan for the McCain campaign and, in a sense, for the Republican Party. Governor Pawlenty, you say "drill, baby, drill" is not an energy policy. I'll start with you.
And drill, baby, drill is not meant to be an energy policy. Drill, baby, drill is a way to get your attention focused on the question of how we do energy in this country. The last few energy bills have basically been a joke. How can you propose an energy bill and not have all the relevant players at the table? How do you not have a conversation with coal and solar and nuclear players at the table? It's not just about oil.
But drill, baby, drill sounds like let's get more domestic oil production.
Yeah, of course, because it's right now. It doesn't put you from the things. It is an all on the table, everything included idea. But it was to get you focused on the fact that we have the opportunity right here in front of us to begin to address some of the energy needs that we have and concerns that we have. Look at what happened to the price of per barrel when the president just lifted his executive order on his end. I mean, that began this tumble that we saw. It was now like $14 in the first week. So there is a psychology to it, as well as a momentum to energy policy. And what I was trying to do is draw people's attention to the fact that this is one of many things we should begin to do as a party and as a nation.
Governor Pawlenty, whether Mr. Steele meant it or not, somebody covering the campaign, clearly the implications seem to be that's the answer.
Well, what I've said in my speeches, and I think you're referring to this, Chris, is drill, baby, drill by itself is not a complete or comprehensive energy policy. So Michael and I agree on that point. My point is this.
Clearly, Mr. Steele, talking about the economic stimulus in general, in a time of recession, don't you want to have, I know we already had one stimulus, and some people will argue whether it worked or not, but do you not want to have some kind of spending to get people more money in their pockets?
Well, I find this rather ironic that people have railed against the deficits that have been created over the last few years, and everybody's talking about, yeah, it's good to do deficit spending. You know, I think a quick point on the spending and the deficit side of it. Look, the stimulus packages, if you can put it in play, great, without creating a great deal more harm to the economy, then do it. But the reality of it is we've put $7 billion on the table, which we didn't have. We're now trying to carve out an extra $300 billion to put on the table. My question is, when does it stop? You don't want to keep feeding this trough here that folks on the Hill seem to want to be at. The number two things, to the Republicans in the House and in the Senate, over this lame duck session, you can be against a whole lot of things, but you better start to be about something and for something as well. You can't our party just cannot be in a position where we're sitting back going, no to this, no to that, no to that, without any explanation, number one, and without some alternative proposal to put on the table.
All right, I want to ask you a minute left. Sure. As we said, you're running to be chair of the Republican National Committee when they vote in January. Where would you basically say, and there are a number of state party chairs from Michigan, from South Carolina, from Florida, who are also either running or thinking of running, what sets apart Michael Steele?
Well, I think I bring a different experience to the table. I was a grassroots guy from day one. I started out here in my hometown of D.C., working the streets and knocking on doors. I then worked the Central Committee in Maryland, Prince George's County. I became chairman of the party there for 6 years, state chairman, an elected official as governor, a lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland. Now I'm chairing GOPAC, a national grassroots organization that's geared towards training and electing Republican candidates. So I think I bring a host of different perspectives to this table. I'm a big techno wonk. I'm up at 2 in the night blogging and checking out the world and seeing what's going on. I want to make our party relevant, and I think the experience that I bring to the table will help us do that. I'm tired of us sitting back with our head in the sand, complaining and finger pointing and blaming. Let's get up, pick ourselves up, go out here and engage the fight. I want to be the loyal opposition in this to this incoming administration.
Mr. Steele, Governor Pawlenty, we want to thank you both so much for coming in today and talking about the